What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to another video. You're joining me here on a squat day, and we're not doing our half fields. We are doing our SSB. So, start of the week, I like to really just get the squat in. It's like I got a weird stain on my shirt. I think I missed my mouth on that energy drink, but still working out, still, gonna power through. It's not that much of a debilitating condition. But anyway, that's what happens when you get caffeine in your pump for your system. Working up here on SSB, and ever since I started doing the Hatfields, I'm honestly enjoying them a little bit more. I'm liking to do the overload on that second squat day. It's fun. When I unrack these weights with the SSB, it just doesn't feel as heavy. So it's, obviously you're acclimated to heavier weights, so everything is going to feel lighter, but it is still a balance thing with being able to squat with SSB and not having the reinforcement of the sides of the squat rack or pins, whatever you're using for that Hatfield. But overall, just working all angles and being able to do it with that setup, and then with this one as well too. Obviously, free weights are king, so being able to squat this without any assistance will always be the best option. More stabilizers, core stability, etc., more control. So it really just depends on what your goals are, but having an overload can be mentally a good thing. If you're a sticking point, getting exposure to heavier weights can help you kind of break through that plateau, or even if it's like a mental plateau. Deadlifts here, working up nice and slow, just trying to get back, feel comfortable, mentally beat that that injury, and then also making sure form and everything is on point. Obviously not heavy weights, but let's build those mechanics back. Let's make those connections that we may have been lost and just acclimate back to the weight. Kind of like how I'm acclimating with the Hatfield to go heavier. Same thing with deadlifts. Let's start low, build our way up, and then eventually approach those weights once we're a little bit more confident. And that's always been the game plan. And so I'm definitely going slower. I'm definitely a lot more explosive on the deadlift, especially when I was pulling on the deadlift bar. But honestly, I'm fine taking my time. And like I mentioned before, these deadlifts are occurring after the squats. So there's a little bit of pre-fatigue. There's a little bit of, fatiguing myself to the point where we can't exceed more, or, lift things in an uncontrolled manner that could potentially lead to more issues. So that's kind of the game plan there. Belt squat, still working up with these, trying to get heavier and heavier. And I'm really liking these. I'm really feeling, now that I've kind of modified my form a little bit, and really sitting back into squat, loading the hamstrings, feeling the glutes. And this one's kind of finicky. It's kind of hard to find the right range of motion. I may start doing the Oli lifting shoes, which I've mentioned before, just to get a little bit of greater depth. It's very hard. I don't know how to describe this. If I move further back on here with that chain behind me, it becomes more of like a low bar type of squat, and I don't feel the same level of effort. I'd have to throw more plates on. With this angle and this setting here, I can definitely sit back more to the squat. I can feel that resistance, like it feels like I'm doing work. There's some belt squats out there, the way that they're messed around with and set up. Bad term there, but just the way that they're maneuvered or used by people. They'll change the chain length. They'll do different settings. They'll move the actual arm that manipulates the unit, and it's sometimes hard to recreate consistent stimulus in order to be able to overload and really get the benefit out of it. I used to belt squat years ago, and I gave it up basically because it was just too much weight and I didn't feel the resistance. So I've modified things slowly and just trying to overemphasize the tension so that I'm really loading those hips, and you'll notice it's a slower descent and I feel where I need to be and then go up there. It's weird. There's a weird feeling in the quadricep that I get, and if I'm not careful, I don't know if it exaggerates the movement and can cause injury, but just trying to be careful with that. Ham curls here. Maybe one day I'll be able to fit into this this position and chair, but when you have a thick stomach and a thick lower body, You just kind of project yourself off constantly. Leg extensions, I'm liking. I kind of maneuvered around and figured out how to do them so it doesn't hurt my knee. So good there. I basically dropped the single unilateral ones because when I would do the single unilateral, it would put too much stress and pressure on the one leg that's not injured but noticeably weaker than the other. And didn't really like that. The angle that you were doing the leg extension on, which is too much of the fulcrum, was to the right of the machine, and it was bearing way more weight than the other one was, and there's no way to manipulate that unless you like dead center your your leg. Transitioning into the bench day here, basically sometimes I'll change angles depending on what's available. I'm just, for variety, for the video's sake, for my own sake, and basically, I don't know. It takes some time to mess around with settings, and nothing's, ideal. I've got my bench set up that I enjoy. I've got the certain rack that I like. The lighting's really good, and so I was kind of messing around here just to kind of see, but it's good to have some experience with all of them so that if you have to work out there, you can do it. It's not that big of an issue, and it's really not, especially with the weights not being anywhere near as heavy as they used to be. But it all really just depends on activity in the gym. Some days are busier than others. There'll be days where Mondays are a ghost town. There'll be days where they're popping. So I just want to be able to get in, do my workout, take my energy drink, do what I'm going to do, and get my workout in, get that consistent time in, and then plan around for the other exercises. So time management's a good skill to have. So I'm a big believer in the Apple Watch or any watch, any sort of timekeeping device. I used to have an old school gym teacher stopwatch on my neck that I'd wear when lifting, so I knew exactly when the rest sets were going to be over. And it's cooler now because you can do it with your Apple Watch, and it will literally vibrate to let you know when your time's up. So you can talk, shoot the mess with your friends, do all that kind of stuff, and then be told when it's time to go lift again. So working up here on bench, and just a good angle for form and everything. You usually can't see this in my usual setup, but you can kind of see how I'm touching. I'm really just trying to find that sweet spot on the pack slightly below the nipple line. And then also the leg drive to keep my butt on the bench and make sure that we're doing everything that we need to do. So you can see another angle here. And when you're a bigger guy and you've got lats, to get them nice and tight and drive them into the bench, you sometimes will lift yourself up. So you have to maneuver yourself in a way that you're in full contact. And obviously a wider bench can help alleviate that, but I like this one. It's a Rep Fitness bench that allows for good stability. You're not sliding on it with the material on it. You don't need to put a band. So it's just really set and forget and kind of do your set, move on, and go from there. So not bad at all. Really, really enjoying it. It's taken a beating because it's heavily used by a lot of people, which is super interesting because we've got heavier dutier bench. We've got the Titan wide one, but that one I can't get my legs underneath because the way they put the legs on it, you have to maneuver around and press them up against it. Not very comfortable. So OHP here and just slowly working my way back, taking my time, finding that groove that I used to have when I used to do them, and then keeping an eye on the shoulder, trying to be as balanced as possible. If you've watched the previous videos, you've seen there was some unevenness in that, and I think it's kind of starting to resolve itself, at least in addition to the strength. So incline bench here, and everything that we're doing, it's nothing revolutionary. It's just consistency and overload, and that's what I like. Form's looking pretty good. Getting back into those ranges of motion, strengthening the muscle, getting the tendons and ligaments used to all that. You got to go slow. If you continue to tear yourself up and beat yourself up, it's not going to be a good time. And when you're dealing with an injury, you kind of have to, play that by ear. So it's been fun. Shoulders, I'm going to have to figure out what exactly I want to do. I might look into some more lat and chest mobility, but who knows? just slowly lower it week by week. You know, get the experience, get the weight to kind of push you into position and see how you feel, control it on the way down, kind of go from there. That's kind of what the game plan's been. And then just hit it multiple times a week, hit all sections of the shoulder, the lateral reverse fly, the pressing, the front raises, everything like that. You know, you really just hit everything. Move around. Movement is medicine within reason, assuming you're not in too much pain and you were told not to, but do what you got to do to get where you want to be. Take time. You can walk back. You can take a couple steps back, and the reverse flies here. And I prefer to do these on cables, but we've got this one bench that is specific for it. And, you know, I could do these a little bit slower, but to get yourself into position, it's a good angle to kind of do all that. So like, comment, subscribe. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching the latest video. If you want to help support the channel, I actually own my own wet shaving and grooming e-commerce website where everything's handmade by me. It's www.apexsoaps.com, and you can get a 10% off code using wet shaver. We've got some cool scents here. We've got some Coca-Cola scents, a horchata scent, traditional barbershop, just some really cool stuff. And you can purchase samples or you can buy the whole set. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out via email. Be quick to respond. Thanks for watching.